Alright, it is game number 5, the final game between epikfaal and Sjors. Sjors, I don't know. Dutch, I'm pretty sure. Regardless, Zerg versus Protoss. Very interesting set of games so far. We've had games that have been, well, this one's a bit longer, I'm going to speed it up. We've had games that had cannon rushes, we've had a 10 pool, we've had macro. Now on another 4-player map. Let's see what else we can get out of here that's weird. We have seen that our Zerg player here, when he gets into a great macro slide, he can do really well. It's the 2 base attacks of the Protoss that seem to be really throwing him off here, catching him before he can really get up 3 good bases. So I'm interested to see what his strategy is. And once again, these guys know each other very good. The mind games come into play, part of it. It's a dragon. We'll be having a Nexus first. It's not too unusual at this point. Even if it's a 6 buoy going up against, the odds of them finding you first and then coming in doing damage against this much probes, you can generally come out alright. Which is why I almost never 6 pool anymore. Because it just doesn't work out that much. Protoss is scouting in the right direction. Same with this Overlord. They'll see each other very soon. And we have the first hatch taken inside the base. We've seen a lot of Zerg players take it outside the base. It allows you to set up quite nicely for, you know, into the mid game. Get your creep spread to your natural to defend much easier. Take this as a safer third. This is not the case in this game. Couple gases over here. Cybernetics core. Overlord's going to cruise right on in. See that everything is alright. Units wide, so we're going to start seeing the Zerg player overtake the Protoss pretty quick with the injects and the 2 hatches. And we actually see him taking a couple of gases fairly early here. Looks like he wants to tech up fairly soon. Bit of a misrally on some of these workers here, though. I wonder if he's going to notice that. More workers in production. I've got to think of what that gas is for. He's taking all of his gases. I wonder if this could be a 2-base Muta play. He's used Muta quite a bit so far, and it could work out alright. Catch before anything like Blink happens. Swarm host's very tough to do on 2 bases. It costs so much to do Swarm hosts, and it's such a large map, you'd have to get a nydus. Lair's on the way, so let's find out what he does when that lair is finished. Let's slow it back down again. Protoss player is gearing up for... He's got essentially 6 gates down. And you can tell by all the pylons he's getting is that he's expecting to do a pretty big 2-base attack here. Already got pylons in position and a mothership core coming down. So he's going to have all the stuff he needs to be able to do a nice attack here in the next little bit. Speed is on the way. And we've also have a bunch of lings popping out. Lots of queens at the front. Probably expecting attack, but the difficulty about this is one force field and all of your queens are going to get taken out. So that's a little dangerous in my mind. Just warping in sentries, waiting for another 4 gates to finish. He's going up to 10 gates on 2 bases. Why not? Nydus and an infestation pit. So it will be proximity swarm hosts here. That could be pretty fun. More sentries coming down. No upgrades on anything anywhere. Queens are pushing the creep the best they can. He's expecting an attack. Lots of queens at the top of the ramp. Zerglings standing by ready. Sending 1 out to go and look for what's going on. 4 swarm hosts on the way. These are going to be so important. There's no detection for our Protoss player at all. No Robo, no Stargate. Pretty strong Protoss army. Losing this Overlord might have actually been a bit of a blessing if it would slow down this attack a bit. Pulls everything away from the nydus worm smartly enough. He's got a burrow. Burrow! He does get them down in time. Whoa! He lost the mothership core. Not a clutch force field. Okay, so the nydus is still done. Handful of swarm hosts and queens. Let's see if he's actually going to uproot now, or if he's expecting another part of this attack. I think he needs the Zerglings to go scouting for pylons, but I do think he needs to go start putting on pressure with these. Warp them in somewhere on this side of the map. Get the pressure back on his opponent. Seeing that base go down should give him a little bit more confidence to be able to do something like that. Double Robo in response, really wants to get a lot of Colossus. Big pile of queens, more swarm hosts, but no third hatchery. Lots more swarm hosts on the way. Enduring Locust about halfway done. Whole pile of queens. You need the anti-air. And even a few drones. Probably to get spore crawlers as well. Where is it going down now? Fairly aggressive spot. Not really that well hidden. You think you could have put it off maybe over here. And be able to siege into the third. But if this works out, it'll be great. He'll have a lot of creep. Making 2 more queens at a time. Now the Protoss player is going to be panicking. We're going to watch his vision. We're going to see how the Protoss player feels when these locusts are coming through. Production tab is still open. Enduring Locust is about to finish up. And more swarm hosts just piling in. Big pile of zealots coming in to look for the third base. He's got observers out, but now he's going to be waiting to get his Colossus finished up. We'll go back to everybody's vision. Zealots are in the main. They're doing a ton of damage. Hold position Zealots as well. They're just wreaking havoc here. Zerglings, yeah, I was say about run right past everything. Some of these Zealots aren't attacking anything right now. Locusts need to get focused. They're shooting back home. Big accident. This is not intentional. He knows that those locusts aren't going to make it. He needs to re-rally these the other direction. Finally, the thing does get cleaned up, but it's 31 drones right now. It's a very, very bad amount. Finally, he's got him going in the right direction. He's got a lot of swarm hosts now. Colossus are on the way with +1, and he's got the thermal lance started. Creep spread is going to be super important to getting these locusts out fast and into position. There's no thermal lance yet. You should attack what he can. Even taking out this forge would not be a bad thing. Taking it out before +1 would help a lot. He's got spore crawlers finished up here. Some spines on the way. I think those spines are going down, yeah, at home to defend. He's got no other hatchery on the way. He's not really remade his worker count at all. Kind of all in on these swarm hosts. Nice flank coming in, but he is actually going to get pushed back. Not the best force fields, unfortunately. So it is 2 base versus 2 base. I do like the amount of swarm hosts that are out here. It'll help a lot. And then he's got a lot of stacked defense with these queens. But he's got to keep moving that creep along so he can start hitting the front of the base. Looks like a pile of... He's going to have to unload his queens here. Pile of zealots did get warped in on this side, but they will get cleaned up. Still way more zerglings in production as well. Gonna be able to take a few pot shots on some of these zealots. Big push forward. The other great thing about creep is that it lets you know where the army is coming from. Swarm hosts are in a pretty good spot. It would have been really nice for the Protoss player to get out a probe and just start another base somewhere else. It'll be very hard for the Zerg player to be that mobile. He does have Zerglings out, but a good cannoned wall off will help a lot. A lot of Colossus out, that's for sure. Good hold position micro on the swarm hosts. A very important technique that people need to learn for their swarm hosts. Get the cyber core. Oh man, it's like a shot away. Spar's on the way, but I think going up into Hive and actually getting Vipers out would probably be even more important. Front door's been broken down, and these are free units. Anything they pick off, it is just fantastic. He hasn't moved up his static defense, though, along with his swarm hosts. I would be moving these things back pretty soon. They're way too close to the action right now, and they're going to get sniped off. Pretty good force fields. We'll get the mothership core with the queens. Very smart. Keep moving those swarm hosts back. And he might have to move into actually getting an economy again. He's only at 42 workers. More swarm hosts in production. This is actually quite tense. A lot of colossus out. But he's still losing a lot of units here at the front. Let's see if he runs back into the nydus here or not. Queens are actually doing quite a bit of a buffer in the back, getting a lot of damage in. Too long for the regen. Is he just gonna make it out? He's moving into mutas again. Of course, why didn't I think he was gonna move into mutas again? See, at this point, if the protoss player did have down a hidden base, there's been no scutting from the zerg player at all in order to deal with this. Lots of spines back at him should deal with those zealots that got warped in. Actually almost loses a colossus there. This spore crawler is actually quite handy. If he can pick off these observers, that'll be really good for him. Corruptors on the way. I think just sticking with one unit, just say going into a lot of mutas would be just as effective as trying to get out a bunch of corruptors here. Kind of a hodgepodge of units. These locusts are still getting off a few pot shots throughout this. Zerg players finally starting to maybe get pushed back. I don't know, it's still so close. Economy-wise, Zerg player bankrupt in one base. Pretty much mined out in his other base. Well, some of these patches actually have way more minerals than others. Zerg player, pretty mined out, no third. This is one of the longest two-base games I've seen. Oh, such a risky move. Is there no observers in here? No, there's observers in the back. He's starting to pick off some of these colossus here. The locusts underneath sucking up some of the stalker fire. I think he's gotten 2 or 3 of the colossus. He's not target firing really well, though. It's down to 16 swarm hosts. 16 still pretty good, don't get me wrong. Zerg player is still gradually getting pushed back. He's ahead in supply, which is not usually the case with Swarm Host players. Still waiting to see if he can get up some sort of an economy here. Happily that his opponent is stuck on 2 bases as well. It's made this a bit easier. What I would have liked to have seen is some Zerglings run around the map just to check for bases, because if there was a Nexus or 2 hidden somewhere, like if he took another main base and walled off, the Zerg player would be in a terrible spot right now. Protoss player still doing 2 Colossus at a time. He's got a lot of Chrono Boost here he's not been using. Could be getting those Colossus out a lot faster. Maybe even get down a Forge with his tack upgrades. Ooh, those queens are getting smoked. So this Nexus is just about finished, and then the Protoss player will be able to, afford to live a bit longer. 3rd hatch is on the way for the Zerg player. This army is so ragtag, starting to get a little bit beat up. Random hits from Locusts here and there. Whoopsies. So I think there's enough colossus here. Still making more. Making more swarm hosts. Why not? This is where vipers would be really, really sexy to see. Looks like he's confident enough now to go in with some of these corruptors. There's a lot of corruptors. The queens or transfuses is actually going to help out a ton. Essentially, who can take one good engagement. I thought the protoss almost had it there. He's on top of the swarm hosts once or twice. Swarm host numbers are pretty out of control right now. He's almost got a full page. He will be when these three pop. Looks like another zealot run by might actually shut down this base, which is a good move for a protoss player who hasn't been able to really accomplish much. See how many? 103 kill colossus. We'll keep that guy highlighted. Executor colossus. Twilight is on the way. I think blink would be a great little spell to use, be able to pick off some corruptors and back off. He's got to time his corruptor attacks with these waves of locusts. That'll allow him to just not take as much fire onto the corruptors. He's actually taking a little bit of damage on some of his colossus here. See, this would have been really effective to see the protoss player bounce between these different pieces. Come underneath, take a shot, see if he can pick off some stuff. Come back around to the top. Just dance around this area in the middle. This base did get cleaned up. So essentially we have no mining, and barely any mining, and no mining. This base is up and mining now. Templar Archives on the way. If he can get himself out some storms to be able to muscle through this army, that might actually work out quite well for him. Man, there's our storm. The thing about that is you only have like these small windows of opportunity. You like have to storm the locust, bust through, get a bunch of damage in, because you just don't have unlimited storms. It's gotta be a frustrating place to be in as a Protoss player. I'm sure that doesn't happen a lot. Queens with a lot of energy could transfuse a few corruptors. You can bounce around the corruptors around these areas as well, see if you can pick off a colossus or two. Because the Protoss player is at least mining, which is more than what the Zerg player can really say at this point. Let's look at the income. Yeah, you can see the income difference is ridiculous. Protoss player is mining more than double minerals, and about triple the gas. Stalkers, I'd be careful. I don't think they got blink. No, they didn't end up researching any blink. Nice snipe on one of the colossus. Really slick move there while the stalkers are out of position. This is where a couple zerglings might just wreak havoc down there. Yep, about to one full page locusts now coming out of these swarm hosts. And even though there's mining on one side and not really on the other, at least he finally did manage to move down his spine crawlers and take this base. Protoss player is still in a pretty tough spot. Oh, the big storm push. Uh-oh. That's a problem you get all the time with swarm hosts when you try to rally them before they've all finished burrowing. Pretty good push out of the corruptors on the side. He gets tons of colossus. Look at the damage on these corruptors, though. And actually, there's the GG. Without the colossus, he could never hold on. Fantastic series there between both of these guys on the same team. And I'm actually very impressed. I thought that the Protoss player was going to squeeze these series out. Shows the Zerg tenacity. 3-2 for Sjors over epikfaal. SeKo Starcraft. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll have some more games for you soon.